Hello everybody, my name is Steven and welcome back to Storytime. Without wasting any further time, let's get into our first story of the day. Entitled Mother demands to do an appointment for a non-emergency in the middle of the pandemic. This was written by my GF. She doesn't have enough karma to post here, but she wanted to share the story anyway. So I work as an answering service for a few dental offices in the US. I live in Colombia. And because of Miss Rona, I had to start working from home just answering calls. The current office I am working for is closed. We are just talking calls and referring them to another place. Note that this branch is in New York, and because of that, dentists can only see emergency. But Mrs. Entitled Manager apparently didn't know that. Here's how the convo went. Thank you for calling. How can I help you? Hi, I want to get my son a cleaning as he is not going to school. We can go now. Let me ask you, is your son in need of emergency consultation? I don't know, you tell me. He only needs a cleaning. I'm sorry ma'am, we are not open. We are just taking calls for the office. I can refer you somewhere else, but they won't see you if it's not an emergency. What do you mean? It's just a cleaning. Can't you guys open for him shortly? No ma'am, as I told you, we can only see emergency. If you want, I can write down your information and we can call you back to schedule as soon as we have availability. But as for now, I suggest you to stay inside your house. So, she went nuts with that last bit. Excuse me? Who are you to tell me I should stay in my house? My son is in perfect health, he is not sick. What do you mean you can't open for a simple cleaning? We can see your son if he has pain or if he has broke a tooth, etc. Otherwise, it is better to wait until the quarantine is over. How unprofessional and rude. I am willing to pay cash right now. It is just a cleaning and you can't do that one thing for a child? No ma'am, it seems we are not going to be able to help you. Yeah, you bet. Then I suggest you go to another office. Thank you very much for calling. Have a great day. And I am not recommending this place to anyone, lady. I actually never thought someone like that could possibly exist, but I had a few laughs thanks to her. For anyone who might be reading this, stay in your house. You can save others by doing nothing. When are y'all gonna get a chance like this again? Just some quarantine hacks. There is a feature on Google Chrome that allows you to see Netflix with anyone remotely called Chromecast. So you can have the marathon of your life with your buddy. A little frustrating, but it ends with a really good message. So here's a good question for you guys. Considering the situation, what are your personal hacks or tips regarding staying home? What are you doing to keep yourself occupied? Let me know in the comments below. I just saw a lady get tasered for trying to snatch a woman's face mask to give her to child. I argued with my husband about whether or not to post this because I'm pretty sure this will make the local news and I didn't want to burn this account just yet. But he won rock, paper, scissors, so here we are. Prepare yourself. This story has layers. We were at the dreaded big box store picking up potting soil because we are going to DIY ourselves through the isolation. Things aren't crazy here yet, but there is a 2 per customer limit on a majority of items. I assume this means everything. So we're getting 2 bags each of a few different types of soil. My husband is loading the last of 8 bags on our cart when I hear her. I know it's a Karen just by the level of unnecessary outrage in her voice. Are you kidding me? Not a lot of people out here in the garden center, but we all look to her. I was almost disappointed to see she didn't come with the requisite haircut. She actually looked like a frazzled mom. Her kid tugging on her hand and an overfull handbasket of groceries. And I had a moment of, girl, I feel you. But dang it, she was pointing at us. You can't buy that many. You are hoarding. My husband says, yeah, we can. We're getting 2 each. Oh, you don't fool me. I know what you're doing. So do I. Freak off. I'm just sitting there imagining all the ways I'm gonna rock his world tonight. Well, Karen huffed at that, spun around and yanked her kid back inside to go complain to the employee working the register nearby. Now, we already paid for our items. The employee had come out and scanned the bags earlier and he could easily see our cart from inside. So, being finished, we pushed the cart out of the garden center into the parking lot. And then the automatic doors opened behind us and I hear, now they're stealing. Just great. We load the soil in the car and turn around to bring the cart back and look at the plants. By the time we get back, Karen has given up on trying to convince the employee we're the Bonnie and Clyde of dirt and is now trying to negotiate skipping somebody in line. She has a child, you see, and her handbasket, well, it's just so full and heavy. Could she please just scooch right on in here real quick and it'll just be an extra second? She swears. The woman Karen is trying to skip is young, maybe college age, and wearing a face mask. Not a medical mask, but the stretchy kind you'd wear while riding a motorcycle or when you're skiing. My husband has just informed me it's a neck gaiter. The mask is black and has like scary wolf teeth on it that honestly made the girl look like someone you should not freak with, even though she was wearing a Gap t-shirt and flip-flops. Mask girl is just shaking her head no, and that's all I got as we dropped off the cart. I browse, pick up a couple plants, and we head inside to wait in line. Now it's showtime. Karen and Mask girl are near the register facing off, no pun intended. From the looks of things, Mask girl finished her purchase and Karen stopped her before she could leave. I don't know if she grabbed her or anything, but Karen was still holding her full handbasket, so she hadn't checked out yet. Well, she hadn't paid for her groceries yet because clearly this woman had checked out. But you don't even need it now, you're leaving. My son could get sick because you won't give it to him and he needs it. Mask girl says, heck no, you can't have it. Back off, lady. But my son really likes it and it's obviously made for boys anyway. Why would you even want to wear something so scary? Because I like it, and it has my germs on it. Why would you put a stranger's mask on your kid? Why are you being so rude? You wouldn't let us go through the checkout first, and now you're making my son very upset. Your problem, not mine. And then Mask girl turns to leave while Karen manifests the biggest balls ever and grabs Mask girl by the back of her mask. Let me make a side note here. When all of this is going down, we're all just standing in line and watching. The register is still going boop, boop, boop as the employee scans items, but otherwise we are all just inside this hypnotic bubble. But when Karen reached out towards Mask girl, it was like the bubble popped and made everything crystal clear. Not slow-mo or anything, but I absolutely felt hyper aware. Like Spider-Man. Karen reaches out, people on both sides of me inhale loudly, Karen grabs the mask and yanks. A lady on my right yells and my husband steps forward. So getting laid tonight. Mask girl tucks her head down and she turns to Karen like a ticked off bull with a bright and shiny new target. I think Karen was going to say something like, "Don't walk away from me," or something, but all she got out was, "Don't crack." I looked around because the noise was so loud I figured the roof was about to cave in. But out of the corner of my eye, I see Karen spasm and drop to the floor writhing. Little Miss Mask girl had a freaking taser. I don't know when she pulled it out, this tiny little flashlight looking thing, but she laid Karen out with it. And not one of us moved for what felt like forever, like we were frozen. And then it was freaking bedlam. Security guard shows up, more employees show up. Mask girl is chilling like she's been through this before and knows what comes next. The kid is screaming that the wolf girl killed his mom even though she's groaning and sobbing on the floor and clearly not dead but maybe wishing she was. The people that had been in line with us were all talking at once trying to tell the security guard what happened. We hung around just witnessing the insanity for maybe 2 minutes before Karen started choking out demands for an ambulance, the police, a lawyer, the mayor, restitution, and reparations. My husband made eye contact with an employee and got a thumbs up when he put the plants on a shelf and pointed towards the door. We got the freak out of there. We drove home in silence until my husband parked the car in our driveway and then we just burst out laughing. Neither of us have ever seen anything like that before. We live in a small beach town. People are super laid back and mellow. Karen was anything but, and I hope to never see her again. I don't think I can blame OP or their husband at all. I think I would be sitting back and watching the show as well. Entitled Mother wants me to give my Switch because her son is being hypnotized by me playing it. Okay, so this started late April last year. I was at my local mall and was sitting in the food court eating some chicken and rice when suddenly the typical Karen showed up coming out of GameStop, which was right next to the food court. She was with like 3 kids or something like that. One kid that was with her was probably around the age of 8 to 10. He seemed to be the oldest while the other 2 were very young. He was holding a Wii U game, last generation Nintendo console. His mom looked really ticked at me. I'm 90% this is how our conversation went. I might have forgotten some minor details. My son has been staring out of the window at you for the past hour. Can you stop playing that Nintendo? My parents were in the Jared's Diamond store at that time, so they couldn't really see what was going on. Sorry, no, I'm not going to put away my game just because your son is watching me. I'm fine if he watches me, but if you really don't like it, you can leave. This was probably a bad reaction. No, we think that he would like that. I'm sure you can give it to him while I go return this game for his old console and get him one for the newer one. She really thought I would give it to her kid. Can't really do that, sorry. While she is talking, her son looks really happy to play his new game and isn't even paying attention to me or his mom. Seems really well mannered despite his terrible person for a mother. How much do you want for it? I can give you 20 bucks, how does that sound? As she said that, she puts her hand on the switch and starts trying to pull away slowly. I have a short temper, so this triggered it even more. Look, lady, get your hands off of me. Mom, Dad. My parents heard me and rushed out of the store. Karen takes her hand off and brushes her shoulder. My mom looks like she wants to punch her 100 times. My mom never let me leave her sight in public ever again. I think that it's great that OP started yelling for their parents. A lot of people in these situations kind of freeze up. Not that it's their fault, they just do. So it's good to see that reaction and the reaction by their parents. Entitled dad steals gloves at our grocery store we need to protect ourselves and lets his kids have them as well as they run around the store. Actually happened a few weeks ago just after the panic buying began. I work at Aldi in Florida. It's a pretty busy store most of the time, and Aldi requires that its cashiers move extremely fast when checking items out. I have to put all my focus on doing the transaction, and so I'm not looking at anything but the items I need to scan. Also, with the virus now spreading in Florida, we've been given boxes of these blue gloves, so we're at least a little safer when we're working. I hear children running around the store. I finish one transaction and look at them. They're getting on the other registers, pressing buttons, typical unruly kid stuff, while their parents apparently aren't around. I caught one of them trying to take the box of gloves I had next to my register, though she backed down after I looked at her. Finally, in comes their father to my register. I know because he's telling the kids to cut it out, but it's clear he doesn't care and they know it. Annoying, but I started the transaction so I could get them all out as quickly as possible. Just as I was halfway done, I catch Dad taking a set of gloves out of the box that were meant for us workers. I called him out on it, but the damage was done. He had the gloves now, so he just says, "Sorry." Like what he did wasn't selfish and entitled. We're risking the safety of ourselves and our families coming into work, and those gloves provide at least some protection against people who may be sick or just gross. He takes them like he's the one at greater risk. Who in the heck do you think you are? Buy your own, use them, and freak off, dude. To make things worse, I'd found that his kids had gloves of their own as well, that they did not have earlier. But since they had them now, there was nothing I could do. Dad leaves with his items and his kids follow, gloves and all. The nerve of that guy for both letting his kids be brats and taking gloves from grocery store employees during a freaking pandemic. Man, my blood would be boiling if that was me. Those gloves are to keep the employees safe. This is such a critical time. Those number of gloves being gone, coming up short on one box, not being able to use gloves. Yeah, it might be a stretch, but it could cost somebody's life, and that's really not something you need to toy with. But overall, that's the final story of today, so let me know which of these stories was your personal favorite to hear in the comments below, and let me know why. And that being said, that's all the time we have for today, so thank you so much for listening to and watching the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to let me know which of these stories was your personal favorite of the day. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.